Hello and welcome to the Metalheads podcast. My name is George.
And this is Buke.
This is Jay.
And welcome to 2016 Blizzard Snowpocalypse.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, actually, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, let me look outside. oh, shit!
Yeah, can I just go on record as saying fuck winter? You know, being from originally from Michigan, I've always sort of lamented the lack of snow in the D.C., Maryland area. And so whenever we get a nice snow, I'm like, yay, snow. No, fuck snow.
Yeah, that's all changed.
But like any storm, at least with some of the friends I know from like Buffalo and stuff, it's never enough. Oh, it's you guys. We guys don't know about snow.
Yeah.
Oh, the 30 inches you guys are going to get. Oh, we should see what we get. Oh, it's never enough.
Yeah. Well,
that is nothing.
It's a little after 1 p.m. on Saturday, the 23rd, and it's been snowing since about 1 o'clock yesterday. Last night, some neighbors came along and plowed our driveway. I don't even know which neighbors it was, so I can't go thank them, but that was nice, because I was just getting ready to go out there and start shoveling it, and I was like, all right. But then I woke up this morning to 2 feet more of snow.
And you said it's there's more coming, and it's the worst part, correct?
Correct. You know, I shoveled for 2 hours this morning, and I did about 80% of one half of my driveway before I gave up, because I realized when the plow comes through, there's going to be literally 6 feet of snow at the end of my driveway. So I'm not going to go all the way to the end of the driveway because, they're just gonna plow over it, and because I could barely grip my hands around the shovel anymore from lifting. I was thinking, it'll be drifting up against the house. As soon as I get a few feet away from the house, it won't be quite as deep. But it was at least 2 feet deep all the fucking way.
Dude,
Go
ahead.
I took a big metal ruler out there and stood it up next to what seemed like, average, and it said 35 inches.
What was the prediction in feet?
It said between 2 and 3 feet. The most I had seen was 35 inches, which we're gonna make that easily.
Well, they've also on the CNN and on the websites they're featuring Washington the most. Those are the ones that do look like the biggest accumulation, because it kind of went through Tennessee and all that first.
Yeah,
but it really go ahead.
The things that's the last thing I do is watch the fucking snooze when any storm's coming, because it's going to be the same thing. Hey, let's go to somebody at the salt trucks talking to the guys. Let's go to the Maryland State Trooper and tell people to stay off the roads. Let's go to the weatherman on the terrace sticking the fucking ruler in. But
I watched
but Stephanie was showing me that the sites that she has seen, the area where George and I live is like the highest hit right now. So
yeah, when you look at the weather map and they have the different bands of how much snow, we are on what they call the bullseye. Literally, Frederick, Maryland was in the dead center of the bullseye of the you're fucked region.
Yeah, it's purple. It was on the weather.com. It's purple, and purple is like something that doesn't show up that often.
Yeah.
And it was, I did, by the way, Buke, I was watching on CNN just to see what it looked like, a little video. They put the news reports up there, and I kid you not, they talked to the salt truck guy.
They always do. But there's literally no going anywhere. I mean, it's Saturday. I'll be surprised if we get out of here before Wednesday. And I just gave up. I'm like, I'm out there shoveling 2 feet of snow or more, and I thought it was going to be light because it was so cold that it would be light and fluffy, but when there's that much snow, it compacts and it's still heavy. And so I went in with the goal of clearing the driveway. About 5 minutes after that, my goal was to clear half the driveway and let my wife take my car when she goes out. And then I was like, I'm not even going to finish one side. It's too messed up. So I'll reassess in a day or two, and maybe some sun will melt a little bit of it. I don't know. So we'll see. But we're stuck.
You're like the groundhog now, or Groundhog's Day. So if George comes out of his garage, if he turns right around and goes back in, you got three more days of. Did you guys both got front wheel drives and everything?
Yeah.
And Buke, is that car yours a front wheel drive?
Doesn't make a difference. It's a Prius.
It's a Prius. It's buried. I sent Jay some pictures and video, and we have on our deck we have these Adirondack chairs, and they're covered. So
yeah, no, you don't.
and that's not even drifts. It's fucking buried.
I don't know if you mentioned that in the text because I did not see those Adirondack chairs.
Yeah. Did you see the grill?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's directly across from it. You can just see the tippy top of them. I mean, like the very top is poking through.
Yeah, the video is dramatic. Is there a point where you got to get up and start shoveling off your roof just to make sure?
Well, I don't know how we could get to the roof.
Yeah.
There's actually like off the master bedroom, there's like a part that protrudes out, and then there's space between that and the rest of the top of the house, and it's all drifted over. And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I like to think the house is pretty sturdy, so I'm hoping that the roof doesn't start having issues.
When I was a kid, one time my stepfather, and I don't know why he chose me, but we used to live on a lake in Missouri, and we had a dock. And on our dock, we had to get the snow off the roof. So he made me go up there with him. And I was like the youngest kid. I was like 9 years old. Why he chose me, I don't know. And his safety plan was that he tied us together with a rope. And he doesn't know how to swim. But it all turned out okay. Yeah, you got it. I mean, that used to be a fear was, roofs collapsing. But
yeah, I don't know.
But no power issues, obviously, or anything yet.
Yeah, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this. That was my biggest fear, was that we'd lose power. And aside from the fact that it would get cold, I'd be extremely, extremely bored.
Did you guys stock up?
Somewhat. I don't know if we stocked up enough for like Wednesday or later.
You're gonna be eating those cans of pumpkin here pretty soon.
Yeah.
The last thing in the pantry.
Just like spoonfuls of flour and
That's right.
I sent you guys a video. You could see the apocalypse that is fucking beating us right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is. I go outside thinking, I'll get to the side, and then like George says, snowdrift taller than I am, and I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
Oh, miserable. But enough of bitching about the snow. There's some guy in fucking Texas right now saying, "What? Who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Let's talk some metal."
Exactly. Yeah, forget snow. There's been enough problems this past week or so since the last episode. As I've got it written down on our script, death comes ripping. Buke has just been fucking killing people, man. He's been killing people. He's the angel of death. Last episode we talked about the death of Lemmy. Shortly after that, David Bowie died. 4 days after that, Alan Rickman died. 4 days after that, Glenn Fry died. By that measurement, somebody should die today. That's a big deal.
Anytime I text George now, George is looking through his fingers.
Yeah.
George goes, "Do I want to look at that?"
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think what it is that Lemmy's having a party and everybody's dying to go to it. Boom, boom, psh. Everybody's like, "Man, I heard there's a party at Lemmy's place."
Can we throw you out in the snow after that good joke? Don't quit your day job.
I won't. So both of these guys went to a show in the last week or so, and I'm going to let them talk about that.
Mine was just surprising just because I thought it was going to be cool, but it turned out to be so much more cool than I expected, which it's Venom Incorporated. So it's basically Abaddon and Mantis minus Cronus, which admittedly is a large absence because, he's basically the front man of the band. But if you remember, immediately after he left, he was replaced by a guy named Tony Dolan. And this was back in the 80s still, so it was like late 80s. And he was on 2 or 3 records. And he's this big, imposing, bald dude. And honestly, he sounds like Cronus, but not in a terrible rip-off way, like they were trying to go that direction. Long story short, Tony Dolan came back with them. They did only songs off the first 2 records, plus 1 song from one of the Tony Dolan records. And honestly, dude, it was bitching.
Bitching.
They were so good and so tight, and the sound was great. I saw them at a club I love to go to called the DNA Lounge here, that actually is attached to a 24-hour pizza place. They serve 24. I mean, it's just the best place to go see a club. And it was great. They did everything I would have wanted them to hear, with the minor exception of the one song George asked me did they play, which was In League with Satan, which I was really expecting and they didn't play. But
I love
I
that
can't,
song.
It's so good, dude. But I can't recommend it enough because, I mean, if it's a tour that is it coming to your area and you're sitting on the fence because it's kind of not, the full original 3, no, it was totally worth it. Place was packed. Crowd loved it. It was fun to watch young people singing the lyrics to all those songs, since this was something I grew up with. So for me, it was kind of like finally satisfying this big yen from the 80s, too. And by the way, both Mantis and Abaddon look really good. Both look young.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then my last addition to that would be, though I did not see him, and it's not a large club, the next morning, Tony Dolan was posting a picture of the band with James Hetfield, so he was there. God knows where. There is an upstairs place that not a lot of people go up to, so he must have been up there. But so it was great, man. That I don't add too much more than that. They played like 20 songs or something, and just tight, loud, modern, old school. It was awesome.
Excellent. That made me kind of jealous.
Yeah, highly recommended. Highly recommended. And we will I will compare and contrast when I see the Cronus fronted Venom minus the Incorporated at Deathfest.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Excellent. Buke, how was
me personally though? I'll go back to your tour, Jay. We've said it before in the pod. I'm so sick of these side bands just doing the same shit, just different member. Just splinter members of the original. I'm so sick of it.
Entombed AD, Jeff Tate's Queensryche.
Just get back on track, guys. Shit.
Well, our top 3 is going to cover that today for one thing, but I have to. If nothing else, and I agree with you 100%, dude. That's why I was surprised at how good it was. That it was vital and cool. But I agree with you. I mean, just do it or don't. But enough about me. You saw something cool this week.
So Lamb of God is on their U.S. Winter 2016 tour. I saw them on the third date, January 17th, here in Silver Spring. Or as most artists on stage say, Silver Springs. First off, what struck me, sold out, George.
Yep.
They sold out the Fillmore. The first 3 dates, Pittsburgh, Philly, and then Silver Spring were all sold out. So that's amazing.
And a good sign for the health of the metal economy.
A great sign. And then they played Norfolk tonight, and that's... No, looks like they played New York City tonight. That's sold out. So, great sign. On the bill, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Deaf Heaven.
Say it. Deaf Heaven.
Sorry, Deaf Heaven and Power Trip. But, Power Trip was a kind of a 90s type of thrash band, almost kind of like a Suicidal Tendencies almost type of sound to them. Really cool. Really cool. I like their sound.
I've heard good things about them.
Deaf Heaven.
Are they local? Is the first band local?
No, they're from Texas.
Okay.
They're on the bill, the whole tour.
Gotcha.
Sorry, not the whole tour, but looks like half the tour they're on with them.
They're along for the ride.
Yeah. Anthrax, which surprisingly enough, they weren't the headliner to some people. Anthrax brought it. Anthrax, again, from the second they come on, I was 5 rows back. It's a literal fight.
Yeah. Last time we saw them was also at the Fillmore, and we were up on the balcony. We had those nice seats that we paid like millions of dollars for, the ones where they bring you food and drink and stuff. And so we were looking down on it, and that was one of the most insane pits I've ever seen. It's a decent-sized theater. Well, not really a theater. There's no seats, but, a decent room. It's pretty big. And the whole floor was just writhing bodies. And I'd never seen a pit like that before. I mean, I've seen crazy pits, but nothing where the whole floor, there's usually a circle in the middle, but it was the whole floor.
Yeah, from front to back, left to right. The whole floor was up.
I want to throw in a comment and a question, Buke. And my comment is, how did Joey sound? Or excuse me, that's my question. How did Joey sound? Because my comment is, the last time I saw him, which was, I don't know, a year ago or something, I remember walking out just thinking he'd sounded better than any record or performance I'd ever seen him. That he sounded literally the best of his career.
Great way you phrase that. Anthrax, George, when he started his education of metal for me, he would give me all the Anthrax albums, and I started listening to them. And maybe because it was older recording quality and stuff, it never really sunk in. I always respected Anthrax for being one of the big 4, but never really sank in. Then Worship Music came out, and the recording quality, and more so his voice, blew me away. Mm-hmm. Then what solidified that is seeing them on tour with Testament. Like George said, Joey was amazing on stage.
He's more of a singer now than he used to be. Like, really.
Exactly. It's almost kind of like a thrash Dio.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah. Well, he was always like, back in the day, he was talking about how he was into like Journey and stuff like that. And he wasn't really that big of a metal guy. He just sort of fell in with a metal band. And so that was always a nice contrast between, the rest of the guys' thrash music and Joey's good voice. None of the other big 4 bands or anything were anything like that. Metallica didn't sing like that, and Slayer didn't sing like that. Obviously, Megadeth didn't sing like that. And so it was interesting to have that contrast of thrash with, clean melodic vocals over top of it.
But I think what gets the fans involved and why they put on such a great show is you have Scott, Frankie, and Charlie all just losing their minds. So these are guys who've been playing this same shit since the 80s.
Yeah.
They're on stage, and that's what I've said about Metallica before, and people can give me shit for it. I don't care. Those guys on stage still look like they're having fun, like it's those days back in the fucking club.
Yep. And that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, you see fucking Frankie throw his leg up on the bass. His head's all fucking headbanging. He's singing along to everyone, and it's just the crowd is feeding off of that.
Yeah. Their movements on stage belie their age, you know? I mean, they all...
100%, Jay, 100%.
I assume they played Indians.
They did.
That fucking war dance?
Yes.
Was it just kind of a mix of a set list? They just kind of hit the hits? Or, I mean, what was the... Like, there's been focuses. The last 2 times I saw them, I saw them for worship music, and they obviously focused on that. And then I saw that Among the Living tour they did.
Okay, their set list, and it's fucking... This always sets the tone, because it's my favorite song from them now. Fight 'em till you can't.
Love that song.
It was a good song.
And then this fucking set that blew the roof off. Caught in the Mosh.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Got the Time. Antisocial. Evil Twin, which is the new song.
That's fucking awesome.
In the End. And then they flip over they flip over the Dio and the Dime banners over, the on the side stage.
Nice.
Yeah. Like 8-foot pictures of them. Indians, and then they ended with Among the Living.
Can't go wrong. Sounds fine. The only thing they skipped, and it's fine, was they didn't do it. Every once in a while, they like to throw in something from Fistful of Metal, or even...
Yeah. When George and I saw them with Testament, they played like NFL.
That's also from Among the Living.
Yeah. But sometimes they play the first song off that record. Also, last time I saw them, they did Medusa, which was really cool.
Oh, I love Medusa.
Yeah, it was a great song. Oh, that's awesome, dude. Well... And there's more to this story. Who else did you see?
There's more, but I wanted to make it known. Joey and Scott made it very clear that their album does come out in February.
Okay.
Expect to see them this summer.
Yeah, and I will. By the way, I won't skip it. They've been great.
I have no reason to miss it because just the energy just blows the top off the place.
Yeah,
they're doing some of their best stuff ever. I think. I mean. Yeah, I would go this far as to say worship music is their best record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even over Among the Living. I love Among the Living, but
that's why I made my list last episode of last 15 years. It's an amazing album. I think
it was on yours. It was on yours too, wasn't it, George?
Yeah.
And I gave it serious consideration because I was obsessed with it. It was great.
I saw them on the State of Euphoria tour and the Persistence of Time tours, and they were fucking amazing back then. The fact that they're still as awesome as they are is incredible.
Yeah. I saw them on State of Euphoria too.
I don't want to leave off the headliners. Lamb of God came out like they do, start to finish. They just blew the roof off the place as well. These guys showed no signs of slowing down. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I definitely feel that they're flying the flag right now for American metal, and it's evident when you look around and the fans there are. Here's that phrase. Not your average metalheads, but they know Lamb of God, just like the most non-metalheads here in the States name a metal band, they're saying Pantera. Lamb of God's that modern band, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I think they're also one of the best American metal bands in the last 10 years, Just consistency.
Yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. A really interesting thing about this, Lamb of God for the first time on tour, it kind of shocked some people on their most recent album. They kind of threw a curveball in there, and there was a song "Overlord" with clean singing in it. I
was going to ask you if they played that.
For the first time, Randy debuted his clean singing.
How did that go?
Awesome.
Yeah?
Okay.
I thought, when I listened to it on the record the first time, I thought, are they using some weird effects on this mic? It just didn't sound right.
Yeah.
Not saying they can't use those, when they're putting together a live show, but it sounded awesome.
Way to go, Randy.
Cool, man. Yeah, way to have the fucking balls to just do it.
That does take balls, dude. That does, because that's stepping into a whole other weird realm of what he does. And it is one that you could potentially embarrass the shit out of yourself.
I was just about... Man, Jay, you're a fucking genius. You always take the words right out of my mouth. Screaming, you being a singer, if you're having, let's say, a bad day, you can kind of hide that by screaming a whole set.
Yep.
But if you to go out there when the music's toned down and you're having to sing, you can't really hide in the shadows, can you?
No, and you've got the real thing is, especially if it's something that you're kind of new to, and he's, at least I'm assuming, somewhat new to that. You have to step up and put a lot of oxygen into it the first time, and the problem is you want to timidly wait and see if the right note is going to come out. So you can really fuck it up real easy. Like you start to sing, and it could be this warbly, off-key, shitty thing. You've got to, with confidence, step into a situation in which you might look like a real fucking idiot.
And they played 15 songs on the set. Overlord was their 7th song. And it blows your mind because you've never seen this from Randy. You know, it's not like Mike and Opeth where hey, he's gonna clean sing and it's nothing. But they played 7 songs and then they played 6 songs and Overlord starts and you're like, man, he's pulling this off perfectly.
I hope this means they'll do more like this in the future.
Sure, why not?
Why not?
It just opens up doors for more things that they can do.
And you know what? They were right at that point where they needed to start opening a couple of doors. It's consistent and as good as their records have been. They can get a little samey, a little bit.
Yeah, they need
You
something.
saying Randy needs to kill another person, Jay? Is that what you're saying?
So, Buke, was there anything else of note at the show?
There was.
Do tell.
There were some attractive ladies there. No. This is a podcast. It's audio for our listeners, of course. But they can't see me. I am rocking my Deaf Heaven shirt right now.
Wow.
I want to claw my eyes out.
I have to say, it's a kick-ass shirt, by the way.
It is, actually.
The killer shirt. It has a cool text on the back, and it's brutal. It's a cool shirt. But
on the back,
yes.
I think it says, shameless hipster. I'm busting his balls, but, I kind of like him, too, so...
They came out, and I skipped over them when I was first running the set list. They came out, kept the lights down, very dark the whole entire time. They maybe shifted from like a green hint to like a blue, but they came out. They're all wearing their tight jeans and tight fancy shirts and sweaters and everything. And
that's the one thing that I can't get over is the way these guys look.
And he comes out, George, the lead singer. And, like he normally does, his dress slacks, dress shoes, button-up black shirt, his, gelled over slick hair.
Like you do.
I don't care if they don't look metal. Because I don't look metal.
Yeah.
Not anymore. But, man, don't look like a fucking hipster.
No, hold on.
I don't even know, back in high school, I would have said, don't look like a preppy. But I don't think that really applies these days. But don't look like the people I want to punch in the face.
Okay, but how is this any different than Skepticism when they came out wearing suits?
Because they were dressed for a funeral, and that was cool.
Okay.
These guys look like they're dressed to go out to a New York City nightclub and party with. I don't even know. It's so outside the realm of my understanding that I don't even know.
That really is the kind of thing in everybody's craw about these guys. That's why so many people are on the. Clearly, right? Because they're kind of hipsters. I mean, kind of they are.
Yeah, I'm probably being a little hypocritical because we're supposed to not care what anybody's wearing. It's about the music. But it's like they're going out of their way to offend us, offend our sensibilities visually.
Now, this comes back to what we mentioned a couple episodes ago. American metal fans aren't accepting.
Sure.
Well, they are.
Because these guys come out, the whole place. Now, I brought a friend who followed these guys on tour for like 5 dates. He tells me, he saw them up at Vitus and stuff. He says, Buke, it's a fucking rager. George is jumping in the crowd. The place is crowd surfing. This crowd, I felt bad for Deaf Heaven. This crowd could not be fucking bothered. And they came out and they played the first 3 songs off of New Bermuda, Brought to the Water, Luna, and Baby Blue. And the music is amazing. And this was one of the very few times that that I have seen a black metal band live, and it finally hit me.
Yeah, it went somewhere.
Did I understand the lyrics one bit? Didn't even understand one of them.
Hey,
because
if you didn't,
sorry,
go ahead. Well, if you didn't know the Lamb of God lyrics, you wouldn't have understood one of those either, though, bro. Not in a live situation like that.
That's a great point. But the music underneath it was amazing. I know Deaf Heaven does that well, the music part. But as they're playing, and George and I started to have a discussion about this earlier in the week before I got bored. And I came home and I did some research that night, in fact. His vocal stylings were no different than the early Norwegian black metal albums that some people put up there with the greats of all time. Now, George, I understand his point. It's 2016. You don't need to do that anymore.
At the very least, don't bury them in the mix. You cannot make out anything. I mean, New Bermuda is a little better than Sunbather. Sunbather, just forget about it. Even with the lyric sheet, I couldn't make out what he was saying. I couldn't follow along because he wasn't even forming words. It was just no words.
The part of that too, though, George, is if you are going to have somebody who is dedicated as just your lead singer, you know what I mean? You cannot bury that in the mix because he doesn't play an instrument, right? Isn't he just a singer?
Just sings.
And
so that's such a weird statement to have a guy.
Okay, but let me ask you this: if this was 94, 95, you had not seen these guys, you had not seen the name of the band, you had not seen an album cover, you had not seen anything. Take it on ground level. What would you think of it then?
I wouldn't have liked it. Not Sunbather, anyway. Because honestly, I don't really like a lot of the early black metal because for the same reasons. The production is horrible, the vocals are buried, and they use way too much atmospherics. I'm not a big fan of the overly saturated atmospherics. In the Night Side Eclipse by Emperor is one we were talking about. Is that a classic album? Yes, it's a classic album because it pretty much was the blueprint for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I give it props for that. But if I listen to Emperor, is that the album I'm picking up? No. I go to Anthems or later.
But the thing that I don't understand, was hitting me. We've mentioned these guys were picked by Rolling Stone. Sunbather was a couple years ago. That was album of the year in Rolling Stone. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean shit in the metal world, but you can't get a bigger fucking plaque for your wall in a sense than Rolling Stone picking you as album of the fucking year. I know it carries the same weight like a metal band winning a fucking Grammy. But that appeal to, I guess what I'm trying to say is I still don't understand why, but I cannot bash them anymore, and they turned me that night.
There you go.
Buke has had the great black metal awakening.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah.
Maybe because, George, 3 of these songs were off of New Bermuda, where you have said that the music is better.
Yeah. I think the music's better, and I think his enunciation is also a little bit better on New Bermuda. I haven't had a lyric sheet yet to test the theory for New Bermuda.
Which I did. I read along and it popped right out.
Yeah, I think he definitely enunciates better on this album, but they could still move it up in the mix. I mean, and it's probably the way they look that gets them the most shit. I think if they looked, if they dressed like, Triptychon or somebody like that, I would guarantee you that they probably get half or less of the shit that they do.
Probably.
I've got a theory about the black metal awakening in it, and it's this sonic thing that happens where it sort of clicks with you all of a sudden. Because really, that is like it's a moment, because it can just be noise to you. But it's like it's like this, like it's like when you watch like a fan going like turning on. You turn on an electric fan, and you know how it kind of like starts to slowly spin in one direction, and then it sort of spins back in the other direction, and then once it gets to full speed, it's kind of like still almost. Mm-hmm. Black metal is like that. It's sort of like there's this point where you're listening to it and you don't quite get it yet, and then all of a sudden the whole speed thing almost seems to slow down. You know what I mean? Like it's like, I don't mean you're going faster. I mean it's like you start to hear the melodies in this absolutely insanely fast music.
That's an excellent description, Jay. They start into the first song. The blast beats come. Now I have said before, I find blast beats that a lot of black metal that I have not liked in the past extremely boring, because that's what I associate with it. But they start into that, and it kind of gets you in this mesmerizing moment.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you key on the guitars, and you're like, oh, look, there's a little different rhythms here, and there's a little solo they're working in here. But then, I don't want to say the brilliant thing that Deaf Heaven does, but then they go into these awesome melodic parts rolling out of that blast beat.
Yeah.
That's like the first time I saw that live, because I have Sunbather and I have New Bermuda, and I had not even listened to them. I just bought them on Reputation alone. But that first that rolling out of that blast beat into that melodic playing from all the members, my mind was fucking blown.
Honestly, that comes straight out of Norway. That's what was happening. That's like, if you go back and listen to, and I'm not necessarily suggesting you do, but like Transylvanian Hunger, and stuff like that. Like there's that song, like the actual change of the notes is a very slow progression. They're playing a million notes a second, but the harmony or the melody is wah, wah. You know what I mean? And you start to focus on that, and it's absolutely hypnotic.
Yeah, the tremolo picking is really cool, and if you do kind of have to like almost like the pictures where you have to like look at it and like defocus to see the image.
Exactly.
You have to just sort of like tone out the drums and follow what the instruments are doing. And yeah, it is kind of hypnotic at that point.
There you go.
And
I think that's a good description, George, is the secret, whatever you call that, the focus picture. What do you call those things?
I don't even know what they're called.
Magic eye or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just like that. All of a sudden, it just kind of comes into focus, and it's not work at all. It's just almost...
Remember that scene, was it in Mallrats?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
Fucking standing there.
And he can't see the sailboat.
They're spaced out looking at it, and he walks up and he's like, oh, it's a sailboat.
Yeah, I've never been able to see those either. I can't do them.
But that's the black metal thing. It really is. It goes from chaos to something kind of beautiful in a way. Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan of the blast beats in black metal anymore either.
Yeah,
I prefer something a little more progressive. And like a lot of the black metal from last year that I really liked, like Migwa, Meforish, and like Temple of Baal and stuff like that, they had a lot more regular drumming than just blast beats.
Yeah,
and like you said earlier, you definitely don't like the atmospheric stuff like I do. Like a lot of people are high on that Panopticon.
Panopticon is growing on me.
Yeah, you did not hate it, but it didn't. You weren't like, oh, here it is.
Yeah, the last Panopticon album, I thought the production was pretty crappy. The new one, Autumn Eternal, the production is better. I still think the drums are like kind of clunky. Not really clunky, but like they really dominate the bass frequencies to the point where it kind of muddies up the sound a little bit. Like, I think if they tightened up the drum sound, it would sound fucking amazing.
That is a problematic thing, and it's all about producers. And I like that Vatnet Viskar record that just came out, it came out last year. And I know you guys didn't really get into it, but the one thing I don't like about it, production-wise, and this happens sometimes in black metal, is they seem to do this thing where they focus so much on the drums that there starts to be this weird, like almost like swishy vacuum effect where it's like...
Yeah.
And it's not, and that's a problem. And Vatnet Viskar, at least one of the songs on that record is almost ruined by that.
Yeah, it's like I can't hear the rest of the stuff going on because of that side effect of the drums.
Yeah, that weird vacuumy, as if the music is receding from you for 0.2 seconds every 0.2 seconds and then coming back at you. It's not. It's just bad production. That's literally just bad production.
We have some of the greatest listeners out there, and my two best friends I do this podcast with. If anybody out there knows more like Deaf Heaven, when they roll into those melodic, those eye-opening experiences for me. If you know any other bands doing something like that, fucking send them my way, because that was my black metal awakening.
I'm going to start hitting you with stuff now and be like, try this.
When Deaf Heaven did that, it fucking sold me right there.
And I'll be honest with you, I haven't formed an opinion on these guys yet because I haven't tried. But because you enjoyed it so much, Buke, that is a record that will be getting spun here this week, without question.
I just sent it to you on Spotify, so listen.
I can put it in the box too if you need it. It was in there before. I had the promo.
Yeah, let me check that right now. Just because I think I probably actually have it. I'm sure I downloaded it.
Yeah, actually, I put it in there under the New Bermuda so that you could grab it without it saying Deaf Heaven.
You know what, dude? I don't have it. Would you put it back up there?
Certainly.
Yeah, and I thought I did, but that'll be because I know you enjoyed it to a certain degree as well. So I'm going to try to get on board with you guys. I'll give it a good listen.
But you. Getting back to it, I see why people hate these guys. You want to, because it comes back to that we're not accepting as metalheads. You want to hate these guys. You want to be like, get off the fucking stage. But we need to start changing that. We need to be more accepting. You know,
Just funny coming from you.
Hey, but
He had an experience.
Yes. Hey,
I'm trying to change things all around here.
yeah, man. This is it's a new year.
I'm not going to say I'm going to be excited for Mayhem at Maryland Death Fest, but I'm just saying we need to be more accepting.
That's an easy one to get into. That's not like any of the other death metal or black metal bands.
You know, I think one of the reasons people do have trouble with these guys is it's because it is the black metal band that a lot of people who, under most circumstances, would despise black metal get into it, and I mean, like, maybe even non-metal fans, and that's really what annoys metal fans. They're like, get off my fucking porch, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I put in all this hard time. What are you doing?
Yeah.
At my show all of a sudden.
Yep.
And I agree with you. We do have to be more accepting of that because everybody has their first metal band or metal show or first black metal band, and you know what are you gonna do?
George is the grumpy old grandpa. Get off my lawn.
Yeah, but I think I was the first one. I mean, John doesn't count. John was open to them. But I think and obviously Jay gets a pass because he hasn't listened to them at all. But I think I was the first one to go, maybe this isn't so bad. And then, of course, just reviled by the rest of you, particularly Neutrino, who's probably fucking pulling up. Oh, he doesn't have any hair. He's probably destroying something right now in his fury.
Well, in his as a dedication to his black metal, I
would say this. I listened to Inferior driving home from work the other day. There were some melodic parts in there, and I'm like,
That's right.
I wonder where they got this inspiration from.
Nah, man, that's a great album.
In honor to Corpse Paint and other things, let me just say real quick, Neutrino is rolling in his grave right now.
And he's rolling in his corpse paint.
And I don't think I do get a pass, George, because I didn't listen to them because I dismissed them before even trying. So that's almost worse.
But you weren't giving me crap about them either.
Fair enough.
I was given crap because I saw what they looked like, and I listened to literally seconds of Sunbather.
And you're like, I'm out of here.
And I'm like, I am fucking done. It's like if we were to walk into like a male strip club. I ain't sticking around to see maybe the real headline dancer. I'm fucking walking in and I'm turning right back around.
Yeah, whoops, wrong turn.
Yeah, wrong turn here, buddy. I'm out. As soon as I put Sunbather on, it's coming off again. But I get it now.
All right. Well, hopefully we can expand your horizons even further throughout this coming year.
Yeah, 2016 could be a great year.
Let's hope. All right, you want to talk about this next one, Buke, since you know what it is?
Yes. So I was browsing Reddit the other day, and somebody made a post again about And Justice for All and the lack of bass on that album. Mm-hmm. Now, you know that album came out after Cliff's death.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you gentlemen who were living that at the time and how you've seen it play out over the years. I know that Jason, for years, they were just merciless on him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They were... Talk about hazing. They were rough on poor Jason. Do you think that was intentionally done?
Yes. They've said it was.
I have one. Well, yes, I do too. But I also, Jason's explanation of it is maybe a little more diplomatic, and I think he might be right.
Well, that was while he was still in the band. He changed his tune after he left.
Okay, see, I that's why I wanted to bring this up and ask you guys, because it was an interesting post on Reddit, but you guys being my metal experts, you guys know this shit better than I trust people on Reddit. I wanted to get your guys' take on it.
Well, I mean, George, had you heard, was the thing he said while he was in Metallica, was it about the fighting over the frequency thing?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things was that James' frequency was so tuned into really a bass frequency but I have to tell you, it's clearly just not there. You can't hear it. It's there, but you can barely hear it.
Well, one of the other things that they said was that because he was basically just mirroring the guitar parts.
Yeah, that's right.
It kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but that doesn't mean I can't quote anybody, so I could be a little bit off on this. But I swear I have heard an interview with Lars where they said, yeah, we turned him down to fuck with him.
Well, and that's probably true. But also, I personally think that the sound overall on that record is just kind of bad in general. Like, I mean, it was really the first Metallica record I was like, eh. And it was like the bass drum sound on that record is fucking hideous. It's like clickety clickety. I mean, if you really go back and listen to it, it's just
the
really,
snare is just like,
it's really dry and so there were some weird production choices made all the way around. I mean,
and Fleming Rasmussen, not that long ago, within the last year or so, finally came out and was like, look, stop blaming me. It was them.
That's right. I remember that interview when he talked about it.
But what do they gain?
Yeah.
I apologize, Jay.
No, that I go with it, dude, because you were going to make a good point.
What do they gain? And, on YouTube, you can see 500 different, couch producers right now who have added the bass in, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Some of them are it's mixed a little too hot, but what do they fucking gain by recording and turning him down?
Well, I have one other thing to say about it that might not have anything to do with personalities or fucking with somebody. But also, Metallica essentially pioneered, and I don't mean to sound at all technical here, but a guitar tone that was known as scooping, where you scoop the mids. I don't know why they use the word scoop. And long story short, it's where you basically turn your there's like 3 EQ knobs on your amp. It's like a treble, middle, and bass. And what guys were doing in the 80s was turning the treble and the bass somewhere near all the way up and turning the mids all the way down. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what the guitars sound like on that. And so they sort of produced it that way. They produced it as if it were a guitar. You know what I mean? They took out everything in the middle, which is strangely something that bass actually occupies more than you might guess.
Now, I just found a statement here, if you allow me to read this for a second. When I went in to this is Newsted's statement. When I went in to record Justice, I had only recorded one time, and that was with Flotsam for Doomsday. I was used to recording with the band. You go in together, do it, and you're done. With Justice, I went into the studio with an assistant manager and nobody else. No other band members. Just go in, plug in, and do your best. I plugged into the same shit I did the Flotsam record, recorded my parts, loaded my gear, and went home. Then there was nobody there to work the parts out with or discuss how this or that was going to sound. It was just record your bass, and that's it.
That's actually, I'd like to know what the experience was like on the Garage Days album.
Well,
which, by the way, there's a lot of bass in that record, too. And that came out before,
Another thing you have to keep in mind is in the 80s, bass didn't exist in heavy metal. I mean, there were bass players, but you listen to any classic album, metal album anyway, from the 80s, and it is very trebly.
With the exception of Motorhead and Iron Maiden.
Newsted finishes... I'm sorry.
Just, it was a predominantly very little bass.
Yeah.
And, occasionally there would be like a bass solo. Obviously, like stuff Cliff would do. In Orion, you can hear the bass. And obviously Anesthesia is all bass. And, the occasional things. And, like you said, Iron Maiden. But for a lot of the music back then, the production's kind of crappy because there's just no low end.
You know what part of it, too, is? That a lot of the bands you're naming, too, that you kind of used as examples, are bands with 2 guitarists. Like, it's really hard. Like, to produce an album and try to mix in even just a guitar and a bass and make sure the bass is heard, not the easiest thing in the world in a metal record. To do it with 2 guitars, I mean, obviously it can be done, and it is done,
It just, I don't think it was a priority back then.
Maybe not. I don't know. That's where all your guys' good bass jokes come from.
Newsted, finishing off this interview, he said, being a bass player in Flotsam, I did not know about playing to the bass part yet. I just knew about playing bass really fast like guitar. Basically, everybody playing in the same thing like a sonic wall. So ended up with everything being in the same frequency. My bass, James' guitar battling for the same frequency. If I had known that what I know now, it would have been different, but it became a classic album for what it was. We captured a moment in time, and that's all there is about it. He finishes off saying, I used to be pissed about it back then, but that was a long time ago. But the records I've made since then have some ugly bass parts all over them.
I bet that did piss him off, too. That must have been hard to, take the first Metallica record he was on to his friends and have them sit there and literally try to decide whether they're going to tell him, I can't hear you, dude.
Yeah. You sound great, man.
But it's the thing. I wanted to bring this up if you guys thought that it was intentionally done.
It's hard to say. I mean, I've heard so many different angles on it that I don't even know. I mean, at this point, I just don't care. I like the album.
Oh, the album's my favorite of that time.
You know, they did, I will say this, Buke, just as you reported, what is clear to me is that they did haze the living shit out of that poor guy. James actually once said it never stopped till he left.
Yeah, I heard it never, even into the 90s. Never fucking stopped.
It was still always the new guy. And so but I will say this, so it probably wasn't like a hazing thing. But if they did do it intentionally, it's pretty fucking cruel. I'll say that, you know. But it's weird, the things you hear, years later. Did you guys, not to switch gears on it, but there was a story a while ago where Scott Ian was saying that, I think it was Cliff Burton, before Cliff died, they played with him like somewhere, and he told them that after that tour, they were going to fire Lars.
Yeah, I actually saw something about that recently. I might have been with an interview with Scott.
I think it was in his book, maybe.
Or no, it was an interview with Kirk. They asked Kirk if it was true. And Kirk was like, yeah, we hadn't been getting along with Lars. And, we might have said something to that effect because, people fight and you say stupid shit. And it just happened to be that somebody repeated it. And, but by the time the tour ended, they were all pals again. And
Cliff was dead. And I think that brought them all together. But I just mentioned as an example of 23-year-olds probably do some pretty shitty things to each other or do thoughtless things. Why they fucking essentially left them out of that record is a great question. And the record suffers for it too, by the way. It would be a better record if you could hear that. It does.
But I will say this though, Newstead never let on, at least I have gone back when I've gone back and let on that he was, the victim of all this stuff. On stage, he was always my favorite member in the group. Him on fucking stage looked like Cliff second coming.
I will say that, you know what? I say this in the nicest way. He was a company man. He was like, I'm in this band. I'm going to fucking pimp this band. I'm going to talk about this band. But I'll say this too now. He's got a chip a fucking mile wide on his shoulder now.
Sure, he fucking... It was nice to see when they did their Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction that they let him come back and play with them.
Yeah. Likewise, that he came and played when they did their 20th anniversary thing or whatever it was. He was on part of that too.
Yeah, I'd like to see them all, get along. I mean, I like Robert just fine. I don't want to see him go anywhere. But it would be nice for them to all get along again.
More visibly so. In theory, I think they kind of are. Like Newstead had a art showing here. It's been a couple of years now. He started painting like all rich people apparently do. And and that was 2 years ago, and the guys went. I saw there were pictures of they all went to support him and stuff like that. But
that's good.
Yeah. But I do think I think Jason is kind of a weird, quiet, angry dude now, and not just about Metallica. I don't know if you guys remember this, but a couple of months ago or something, he took everything, all of his web presences,
left everything.
Yeah, it was just, and I think it's because he's kind of a weird dude. I think he's. I once read an interview with Devin Townsend where he said they used to hang out a lot, and he said one time we tripped on acid, and this was just a few years ago, and he said, and then I never heard from the guy again. So I think he's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of Jekyll and Hyde.
I think he's turning into J.D. Salinger.
He's the J.D. Salinger of metal.
Yeah. It's too bad because, I liked the Newstead solo album. I was hoping that we might get more of that, but I don't know now.
It was good.
All right. Why don't we get into some news? So I read that they came out with an official cause of death for Lemmy, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
When he originally, right after he died, the band's manager came out and said that he went to the doctor and they said that he had neck and brain tumors.
Yeah.
But now the official cause of death is prostate cancer, along with cardiac arrhythmia and congestive heart failure.
Yeah.
Now, there's nothing saying that prostate cancer didn't spread to his neck and brain.
Right.
But I was like, damn. I mean, if that's the case, that means he had that shit everywhere from fucking dick to brain,
Probably didn't go to the doctor because I'm not a doctor, of course. But prostate cancer, if caught early enough, is extremely treatable.
Yeah. This reminds me of, George, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. Years ago when Willie Nelson was arrested for pot, and then I remember they were talking about it on Saturday Night Live News, and this was when Norm Macdonald was doing the news, and he said that Willie, I think he got out of the trouble, or he was suing or something, or he got out of it because they said they didn't have probable cause to search Willie's car, and so Norm Macdonald's joke was, I think probable cause was that he was Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
So my joke is that I really think it's interesting to talk about the ins and outs and the little bits of it. But what the cause of death on Lemmy's death certificate should be is Lemmy.
Yeah. Full body failure.
He died of being Lemmy.
Yeah. Oh, my. And in other news, obviously with Lemmy dying, Motorhead was disbanded, as Mickey D said right after he passed. Obviously, there's no more Motorhead. But Mickey D's not sitting back on his laurels. He's already got himself a new gig. He has joined the reactivated Thin Lizzy, which is a bit of a change for him.
Boy, talk about your second bands here, Buke, because you were saying this is. I mean, there's one original member, and he wasn't even a founding member.
Yeah.
In this Thin Lizzy project, which is not to say it's terrible. I've seen some of it on television, believe it or not. It was okay, but it is weird. Thin Lizzy going out without Phil Lynott is almost as weird as Motorhead going on without Lemmy.
Yeah, but
I mean, he's the guy.
I give them credit. When they are Thin Lizzy, they are doing old material.
Yep.
Yep. And when they wanted to record an album, they became Black Star Riders. Yep. And as I mentioned on my year-end list, I thought the last Black Star Riders album was phenomenal.
Yep.
Does it sound like old Thin Lizzy? Yes. Does he sound like Phil? Yes. Some people might take offense to that, but personally, I think I just thought it sounded great. Ricky Warwick, I believe his name is, does a fucking spot on Phil.
I tell you what, they end up on like VH1. They show these performances from like these festivals in Europe, and they're on a couple of them. And I haven't stopped watching. When I tune in and it's there, and I'm like, oh fuck it, I'll watch this. And it is good. And I like Scott Gorham anyway. He's a great guitar player. But and to get to the point of the story, good for Mickey D.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad he because this is a guy who obviously loves working, I think.
And I think I saw something that like Phil Campbell's got like a solo band or something.
He does. It's kind of a covery band, I think.
Mm.
Did you see that the reason he didn't come to Lemmy's funeral was his doctor told him not to fly?
No, I didn't.
This was after, and he just, all he said was, I wasn't allowed to fly by my doctor, and he said this relates to my health problems recently that had him off the tour, if you'll remember, when some shows were canceled. So I wonder what his health problem was.
I don't know, but I wonder if he's right behind Lemmy.
If it's a heart thing or something,
Maybe.
There's not a lot that keeps you from flying, so... Yeah, well, good for Mickey D. I think Buke and I were talking. Was it maybe? I can't remember if it was me or Buke or you, George. But let's get him back in King Diamond. That'll be the world.
Yeah, man.
The world's, he's on like our favorite King Diamond records.
Yes, he is. Why don't you take this next one, Jason? So you read about it.
Let me get to. Oh yeah. So this is just this is kind of a metal related story, but not entirely. But it is in its way. And there's a house in Scotland called Boleskine House. At least that's how I pronounce it. I think it's really pronounced Boleskine. And it was a house that famously belonged to Aleister Crowley. It's a house I actually went to because I went to Scotland and I thought, I'm going to go look at this fucking thing. And then more relevant to music, Jimmy Page owned that house in the 70s when he was like into the whole Aleister Crowley thing and stuff. And I think still is. And then, and also on Triptykon, there's a song, the second song on the last Triptykon record is called Boleskine House, and he talks about walking on the ground where you once were, and I think he's probably talking about Aleister Crowley. Long story short, it's kind of like a metal thing, reference point.
A landmark.
A landmark. And it burned down recently. So just something to throw out there.
Did they know why it burned down? Was it like arson or?
No. I saw like 3 stories on it, and none of the stories had any theory about it, except that it sounded like it was completely destroyed.
Damn.
And it was relevant to me because we went to Scotland, had a wonderful vacation once, and it's at Loch Ness, and we were going to Loch Ness, and I knew it was there, so I thought, fuck it, I'll drive by it and look at it, because it's got all this weird rock and roll and Mr. Crowley history, and you can't really walk right up to it or anything, but, well, nobody's walking up to it now, but yeah, so just an interesting thing that it burned down. A little piece of rock and roll history there is gone.
Well, if I'd been there now, much like at Barbecue, I would have stole a piece of burnt wood.
Absolutely. Totally, dude. Big time.
Another piece of news, we just learned that VH1 Classic has dropped that metal show.
Crazy.
Yeah. I was like, what? I mean, it's not entirely surprising.
They probably just ran out of people to talk to.
Or well, you can only you can only talk to Janie Lane so many times.
Well, he's dead.
Yeah, fair enough. But maybe it was because Lemmy died. They were like, "Fuck it, we're wrapping it up."
Yeah, it was probably only on the air because Lemmy was like, "Hey, put these guys on the air." Now Lemmy's gone, so they're like, "Fuck them, you're dropped." But apparently they're looking for a new home for the show, so we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, we assumed that it was a variety of success.
Yeah, it seemed like it. I mean, for what it wasn't even in HD, which they were so fond of mentioning. And, a lot of people complained because they only had old music on there. They don't, death metal, black metal, even a lot of thrash metal doesn't really get a lot of mention on that show.
Yeah.
And they always said, oh, it's VH1 classic. They only want classic stuff on here. But it's well known that Eddie Trunk does not care for death metal and black metal or anything contemporary like that. So I don't think he's going to have that excuse now. I think if they do find a new home for the show, he's going to have to fess up and be like, look, I just don't like it, which I think he probably would do. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But it would be nice to have a wider range of acts and features on that show.
Yeah, it would. And tangentially speaking, because I was thinking like, well, what the fuck does Eddie Trunk like? And then I kind of remembered some of it. Did you watch, George? I sent you an iTunes trailer for We Are Twisted Fucking Sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be in theaters in actuality, so I'm looking forward to that.
So Rotting Christ is streaming a new song from their forthcoming album Rituals. Song is called Zaynigmar, something like that. And sounds pretty good to me. I'm a big Rotting Christ fan, so I can't wait for this to drop in a couple of weeks.
I admit I don't really know them.
They've been around a while. They're a Greek band, and Triarchy of the Lost Lovers, one of their early albums, is probably one of my favorites. And they've always had kind of harsh vocals, but then they sort of got into a more gothic music sound, but they always had those harsh vocals, which early on I was just kind of like, it doesn't quite work for me with this music. But then as time went on, they got heavier again, and they're what the stuff they've been doing the last few albums is good. And I actually just went and put all their albums back on my phone because I've never really done a front to back listen of them.
Yeah.
It's always just been sort of sporadic. Cherry picking albums throughout the years, and so I really want to get deeper into some of these albums because I like them.
I'll give them a spin on your recommendation. I always love to discover a band I don't really yet, so I'll take a whack.
Right on. I'm sure Buke's happy that Entombed AD is also streaming a new song, Midas in Reverse, from their soon-to-be-released album.
Yes, I am.
Did
you hear it?
Yeah, I have not heard this yet, but I love the last Entombed AD album, so excited for this.
It's a good song, and it's funny, we have the promo for this, but I haven't put it on my phone yet, so I need to do that.
Yeah, you know what? Well, as I'm fucking digging out from the snow and stuff, I'll,
Yeah, when I was digging out in the snow, I was listening to the Abath album and Borknagar's Winter Thrice. I quickly stopped paying attention because I couldn't hear it over all the bitching about snow that I was doing. But
we need to get you some noise-canceling headphones so you can't hear yourself talk.
So I'm sure we're all pleased to hear that Baby Metal is going to be back in April with a new album called Metal Resistance.
We didn't do our 2016 New Year resolution. Mine is to continue my streak of never giving this fucking band the time of day.
I'll listen to it.
It's a joke. They're the worst thing happening. Anybody who likes them or gives them credit, screw you.
It's just weird, That's a very weird thing.
It's definitely, a corporate. It's like Menudo
it was manufactured.
Yeah, it's a manufactured band, and it is what it is.
They're like the boy bands.
Yes, I'll still give it one listen through just so that I am acquainted with it and can speak to it, know thy enemy, and all that.
The one thing I know about them that I thought was okay, or saw about them, was because everybody was talking about it so much, I thought, okay, I'll go look it up. So I looked them up on YouTube, and there was some footage from some live DVD they did in Japan. And what happened was, it was in this really weird, huge, occult-looking kind of setting, like some modern weird sci-fi thing. And the song started with and they walked down this staircase really slowly in step together, and it was really dramatic. Once they started singing, it all went to hell. But it was kind of a cool entrance, and then that was it. That's about all I know about them.
It's like J-pop merged with Death Clock.
Yeah, essentially, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So Destruction also has a new album coming out. It's called Under Attack, and that's going to be out in May.
I was a big fan back in the day. The new stuff they're not as good as Creator is on their kind of rebirth.
Yeah.
Speaking of German thrash type stuff, I do like Destruction, but I literally liked the first 3 records, including the first EP.
Yeah, I haven't really listened too much to the more recent stuff, so I don't know. I'll check it out.
And I doubt it's going to bowl you over, dude.
Of course not.
Eternal Devastation is good. Infernal Overkill, which I remember, I think Buke found that on vinyl.
I did.
Yeah. And Sentence of Death strangely, is probably my favorite one, and it's the noisiest, clankiest one. It's the first EP. So, but that's cool. I mean, they're still out there doing it.
Yep. What else is coming out, Jay?
Nothing special. Oh, I take it back. No. UFO is putting out a cool little box set called Live Sightings, a 4-disc box set, but it's all vintage Schenker performance. Actually, I take that back. He might not be on one of them, but it's basically 4 discs. I'm a little disappointed because when I sent you this news item, George, I hadn't read it thoroughly yet. I think only one of the releases is in vinyl, and I think I think the other 4 are CDs. But I'll still get it. I like UFO. I love that era of UFO. Schenker in particular, I kind of lost interest after that. But yeah, it's kind of a neat little set. Comes with some goodies in it and stuff. So, and that's cool. I'm glad somebody's doing that because they don't get a lot of attention these days, and it's nice to know that that somebody's putting a little money into them. I don't know who it is, if it was Chrysalis Records or whoever it was they were on at the time, but so I'll be looking forward to that. I'll pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Saxon is also getting ready to release a 9-album vinyl box set called Eagles and Dragons that covers the years 1991 through 2009.
And what that covers, to be real clear for people who kind of maybe do know a little bit about Saxon. Saxon lost the plot for a couple of records, and then they got back to the plot. And this begins with that first album where people were like, okay, Saxon's kind of getting cool again. And some of these releases are excellent, like Killing Ground. Probably the best one is called Lionheart. But it's got some pretty key releases post 2000 Saxon in it.
Right.
So is it a vinyl box set, Judd? I can't remember.
It is.
The price is probably too meaty for me.
Yeah.
I don't need all of those Saxon records, but that's cool. I heard an interview with Biff a while back where he said they sell more records now than they did in the Power and the Glory days.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe not now because this was a few years ago, and maybe nobody buys records now. So
right. Iron Maiden's getting ready to release another video game. It's called Legacy of the Beast. And it's a free role-playing game that's going to be out later this year. And apparently it's going to include a lot of, what do you call it?
Incarnations of Eddie.
Imagery and stuff from throughout their career.
Yeah, different incarnations of Eddie, I think. I'm curious.
So, possibly a bit more improved game than the one they put out right before Book of Souls came out.
I'm a little not worried, but I'm less inclined to think it'll be good because it's free.
Of course. But it still could be fun and amusing just for the fact that it's going to include stuff from their history.
Yeah. And if they just put a little sense of humor in it, it could be like a really good time.
Yeah. So apparently the upcoming Testament single will contain the fastest blast beats that Gene Hoglan has ever played. Guess that's going to be a pretty fast song.
When it gets to that fast, can you tell the difference between his other stuff and that?
No. What's the point?
Honestly, I frankly don't care. The reason I included this is because because of what it means. It means that Testament is really fucking,
making heavy records.
Making a heavy record. They're not, they've gone up and down. I mean, like Practice What You Preach is probably one of my favorite albums along with The Legacy. And that was certainly like a mid-tempo kind of album, and they even had a ballad on there. And then in the 90s, they got James Murphy on board, and they got heavier and a little more death metal for a little while, and then they sort of toned it back down again, and I think they're kind of heading back in that really heavy direction again. I don't know if it's to stay relevant or if it's just what they're feeling. I don't know.
And that's a perfectly reasonable thing to wonder, and I certainly don't have any answers, but the last two were pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked this other one, not the last one better. I like the other one better, the first one of those two.
Formation of Damnation? Or
thank you. Yeah.
Something like that.
I like that. I mean, I've never been a huge Testament fan anyway, but I do like them. But that one was a little better. Dark Roots of Thrash was good, too. It just was sort of like the difference between Locust and the Blackening, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. But, so yeah, obviously they've got something heavy getting ready to come out. We'll see.
Yep. And Black Sabbath has kicked off the End Tour. They started in Omaha, Nebraska. I haven't heard any reviews, per se, of like how they sounded yet.
I watched the videos.
How did it sound?
Well, I don't want to ruin your day because you're getting ready to go see him. But Ozzy did not sound great.
Yeah, that's to be expected.
Yeah, and it's the reason that this was not an easy decision, but it's why I decided not to see this tour. I felt very fortunate to see them on the reunion tour when Ozzy still sounded pretty good. But it wasn't bad by any means. And the set list was not as many surprises as you might have hoped.
Yeah, there was an article saying that they're going to be playing out some deep tracks. And I was like, really? I didn't read it because I didn't want to know, but
there's a couple there. But other than that, it's everything you expect to hear.
Of course.
Yeah.
And apparently they were supposed to start selling an updated version of 13 that had like 4 new songs or a couple new songs and some live songs.
That's right. Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And apparently at the first show they did not have them yet, and so they were not available for people, and people were kind of bummed out about that. I don't know if they have since received them. It sounded like they weren't finished being produced yet when the tour started.
Only for sale at the show? Is that what the deal is?
For the moment. Apparently, I did read that after the tour is over, it will be available to the general public. So,
how long is this tour? Did you guys notice? It's like a whole year long or something?
At least, yeah. I thought it ran into next year.
I mean, I drive by the Oracle Arena here, which is where the Warriors play, the Golden State Warriors, and some of the larger metal shows go, and they'll have their big digital sign out front will have some featured band coming up or something, and they had the date up, the Sabbath date up for September. They were advertising that now. Like I was like, Sabbath's coming, and it was in September. So that was like 2 months ago that they put it up when they announced the tour.
Yeah.
When's your show?
August.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm probably the only person that's going to care about this next one, but Nasty Savage has reunited to record a new album with Nasty Ronnie. That got a lot of laughs last time I brought that up.
Fucking that motherfucker.
Nasty Ronnie. But yeah, I dug the first couple albums from these guys, so yeah, I'll see what it sounds like.
I could picture the cover, but I don't know their music. I remember them.
It's nasty.
It's nasty.
And a little bit savage.
A little bit. It's a little nasty, a little savage. A little country, a little rock and roll. Devin Townsend is also getting ready to begin recording a new album in March. So I wonder if that'll be out right before the Prog Power.
Devin Townsend, the more relevant news story would be Devin Townsend stops recording. You know what I mean? Because he's constantly recording.
Yeah.
So, but good for him. And I could probably stick my hand in his collection anywhere and love what I heard. I admit I don't have even a tenth of it. Mm-hmm. I got a couple of records. One included that Buke was listening to on one of his live streams a while back, and I was like, and it was one I hadn't heard, and I was like, what the fuck is this? It was great. But I should probably pay a little more attention to him.
Yeah. Last news item. Thonic singer Freddie Lim was elected as a legislator in the Taiwanese election recently. I actually wrote this down prior to the election, but apparently that happened recently, and so he did actually win. And that's kind of cool, because Thonic's a cool band. And
he ran at a death metal platform, so good for him.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So congratulations. And
a corpse in every pot and a dead hooker in every garage.
Yeah. They're cool. I don't know if you've ever listened to those guys, but it's a good band.
I'll check it out. No, I honestly haven't. I know of them. That's the best I can do. But I did see this news story, and more power to them. I mean, it's funny, too, because when I hear things like this, not even including metal, I don't even know what their government is over there. So you hear somebody's like, to the legislature, okay, so they've got one of those.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, somebody actually sent this article to me, and it said, death metal singer running for election. And I was like, oh, well, when the mainstream press gets something that's metal, it could be Rob Halford running for office, and they'll be like, death metal singer, and you're like, it's not death metal. Yes. I was fully expecting it not to be death metal. And technically, I thought they were a little more black metal anyway, but it was at least in the death black range, so they got that part right.
You're so right about that, though, dude, aren't you?
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of death metal, kind of a late news throw in here, which wasn't in the script. Did you guys see that the guy? You remember that terrible van crash that happened and those bands were killed over on the East Coast?
Yeah, actually, they're going to be here in a couple of weeks.
Well, the guy who was driving is being charged with vehicular manslaughter now officially.
That's right, I saw that.
Yeah, it was a DUI thing.
Yeah, they're on the Decapitated tour.
No, really?
Yeah, they're going to be playing here in town.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's going to be playing, but
it sounds less likely at this point.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe they may even drop off because of that. So we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah.
All right, let's get into some new releases. I've already mentioned the first two. The new Abath album, Jay. If you You seem to be the most enthusiastic about it, so I'll let you talk about it a little.
I know, and I have been pimping this record, and if I were to be keeping my list, so far it's my record I like best this year, but that doesn't say much. But he knows hooks. He knows how to write little kind of cool riffs. I like his unique singing style. This is a really entertaining record. It's also not too long-winded. It doesn't go on forever, as lame as that sounds. I mean, that's a shitty thing to say about it, really, because it's sort of like this little bitty epic, you know what I mean? I'm really into this record. I think it's great. I've spun it probably 5-6 times already, and I would highly recommend it. It's a logical progression from the last Immortal record.
Yeah.
And it's essentially an Immortal record, So anybody who's kind of on the fence about it, definitely give it a shot. And George and I both just ordered the obligatory Snow globes. Yeah, he's doing a snow globe. I mean, how much fucking cooler could that be? So,
that'll be here in the podcast studio.
Yeah, so I right now definitely a fan of this record and very much looking forward to that tour when it comes through.
Yeah, I hope I can make that. That would be really cool. I've listened to it a couple times since it came out yesterday, and it is really good. So if you get for the digital download, which we're not really big, huge supporters of the MP3s and stuff here, obviously, but if you get it from like iTunes, you can get it with 2 bonus tracks on it. One of them, which is just actually I don't know, maybe it's an old Immortal song. I have to look because I only heard that one a couple of times, and a version of Judas Priest's "Riding on the Wind," and it's great, and that's such a good song, and they do it so well. So anyway, yeah, the other one was what was that?
I'll find out.
Was Nebula Raven's Winter. Yeah, that's an Immortal song.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Which record is that off of, do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Next up is the new Borknagar release, Winter Thrice. On the last episode, we had a lot of fun with the name Borknagar. And so I decided to look it up.
It's Borknagering outside right now.
We're getting the shit Borknaggered out of us right now. I decided to look it up to see what the word was, where it came from, what it might actually mean, and it turns out that the band actually just made the word up.
There you go.
So there's no real meaning for Borknagar. We can mean whatever you... It is the utility word. You can use it for anything.
Perfect. And I think we will be.
Yep. You can say, go Borknagar yourself, and you've got a whole range of possibilities of what you could be doing.
It's good, too, by the way. I mean, it's not. This one's not going to blow you out of the water, but it's a real solid, straightforward record. I like it. I've spun it quite a few times.
Yeah, me too. I was listening to this while shoveling as well.
And a good choice, by the way, for shoveling.
Next up is the newly formed band Gygax and their Critical Hits. Gygax is a phoenix rising from the ashes of the band Gypsy Hawk, which you may have heard of them. And Gygax is named after the Dungeons & Dragons creator, Gary Gygax. And so Critical Hits makes a whole lot of sense, like rolling dice and such. Supposedly the songs are Dungeons & Dragons related. However, the song titles were only maybe barely related as far as I could tell. I haven't looked at the lyrics yet. I listened to the music a little bit. I think Buke will dig it. It's kind of got that retro sound, sort of like the Dagger. And it's not bad. I haven't. Nice. I've only listened to a little bit so far, but I plan to listen to more.
I wish all the songs had names like +1 Mace and, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they really weren't all that Dungeons & Dragons specific, so...
That's cool, too. And I did know... I have to tell you, I did know who Gary Gygax was. What a weird fucking name that is. And I also... and the Critical Hits thing, that just makes that kind of a hilarious title.
Yeah. As much as the album title is related to Dungeons & Dragons, you think the song titles might be a little more.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I mean, it's literally out now, right?
Yeah, it just came out yesterday, okay. I think.
Yep.
We've got the promo. It's actually in the box. So.
Is it? Okay.
Box. Oh, it's in the box. Hit the box.
Yeah, I do need to hit the box. I was there this morning, and I noticed there were several releases.
Always love the box.
You sound like David Lee. I love the box.
Love the box. Anyway. Also out is the new Megadeth, Dystopia.
This was my shoveling snow music today. The solos are wonderful. Adler on drums is monster. Yeah, he's Adler on drums. It sounds like Dave One needs to clear his throat.
That's always been the case.
Even more so on this, I'd say. And but the lyrics, man, they're out there. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I've listened to the album through once, And my first impression was, this is not a terrible album. It is definitely an improvement over the last couple albums.
Okay.
And I think that the songs they've been playing to lead up to it were
Misleading.
typically not as good as the rest of the album.
Yeah.
I think my favorite track on the album so far is Post American World, which I need to read the lyrics to find out if I actually like what he's talking about. That sounds pretty political, and I don't care for political music so much. And there's a cover of Fear's Foreign Policy, which is, I guess, a bonus track, so you may or may not have that on yours. And yeah, I don't know. I'm going to definitely listen to this a little bit more. It might grow on me. I might come to like this album. But it's, you know.
Have you ever gone swimming in a lake with a friend and you were going to dive in off some high rocks or something like that, and you thought maybe there was like maybe it's shallower than we think it is. So you look at your buddy and you're like, you know what? Why don't you go, dude? And then I'll jump in after you. That's kind of what I'm doing with this record with you guys.
Waiting to see what we think.
I'm waiting to see what you think. I'll let you tell me if I'm going to love it or hate it. And if I'm going to hate it, I'm not even going in.
I think you should listen to it because I would like to know your opinion.
Okay.
It's worth listening to. I haven't got a promo yet, so
that was actually that's a good enough pitch. If it's worth listening to, I'll take a stab. Because I mean, I do believe both of you would be like, don't even fucking waste your time, dude. If it was just awful.
It's certainly not another Super Collider.
Okay. All right.
Final new release is a band called Sear. And it's called Volume 1 and 2. And that's because they released an EP called Volume 1. And they recorded a couple more songs, and they've jammed it all together into one album. They're kind of a sludgy doom, cleanish vocals, not so cleanish vocals. It's I haven't gotten very far in it yet, but I liked it enough to include it here and to put it on my phone for further investigation.
Cool.
Shall we do our top 3?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
What's your top three? What's your top three? What's your this week?
This, George and I may have done this before.
I think we all three did it. Believe it or not, I think it's since I was on here.
Yeah, I was going to say something, but then I was like, well, top 3 bands we would like to see reunite for a tour. Now, I think it was just bands that we'd like to see get back together.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys did this, but for me, I looked at this as bands that could actually do it.
Honestly, I did too. So my list is completely different than when we did do this last time.
Because
and it had
before I was like, oh, well, I'd like to see such and such band, even though half the guys are dead.
Yep.
And I didn't go with anybody that had a dead member in it. So.
I went one step further, George, in that I decided it'd have to be a tour I'd want to see because they're not all too old and decrepit. Meaning, I don't know if I want Deep Purple to get back together because Ian Gillan, bless his heart, is not quite the Ian Gillan he used to be. So I even kind of tried to choose bands that were still young enough to pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buke, did you go along these lines as well?
I did. These are all bands that could certainly,
They could do it.
Yeah, they could do it.
Okay.
Let's rock it. So I guess I'm usually first in the batting order.
That's correct.
This one, I wonder if at least Buke will sort of be like, I wish I had thought of that. And it is that I would love to see Barlow get back with Iced Earth and do a tour with them.
Nice.
You know?
You no complaints from me there, brother.
Yep.
I'm pleased to say the only time I ever saw them, he was with them. It was that time where he was back for one record and then gone. And it was great. This is a band that should still be doing things together.
I've seen Barlow and I've seen Iced Earth, but not together.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember you saw him probably with Tim.
I saw him with Ripper.
Which is a fine second choice,
Yeah.
What you got, Buke? What's your 3?
My number 3 just came to me as I quickly shifted to a power metal thing. Fuck it. This should be my number 1, baby. Probably one of my favorite power metal bands of all fucking time. They're from Sweden. They're on hold. They, like a flash in the night, released 2 albums.
Ooh.
Awakening the World and A Flame to the Ground Beneath, which is one of my favorite fucking power metal albums, Lost Horizon.
That's good that you pulled that, because I remember we did this last time, and you were like, no! Because I had them on my list.
It just came to me, Joe. I know what's on your... It just came to me.
That's awesome.
But my number 3, which was on paper, was a power metal band named Dungeon from Australia.
Yeah, I remember when they broke up. Yeah, you loved those guys.
Yeah.
My number 3 is Sepultura.
Oh.
Like a real Sepultura, not that
Yeah.
cover band that's been playing since, Max left.
Yeah.
I will say it now. Sorry.
I would love to see Sepultura, with like Arise, Roots era.
Yeah.
With all the Cavaleras that belong there and everything.
And not unlike a lot of the bands we're probably going to mention, that would be a huge fucking success.
Yeah.
They
Totally.
should do it.
Yeah, well, they got that other singer in there. They're practically a cover band. I don't know. I mean, I think Andreas is probably the only one left.
Yeah, I think he is.
So, whatever. All right, number 2.
All right, my number 2 is obviously inspired by the week I had, and as awesome as what I said Venom Incorporated was, I'd love to see Cronus come back to Venom do a fucking tour.
Yeah.
They're still young enough to pull it off. I have seen video footage of Cronus in the current version of Venom. He's not all decrepit or anything. He's doing fine. They were super tight when I saw him. That's another tour that they could fill a place 2-3 times as big as where I saw him if they would just fucking make it up and get together.
Yep.
And I think that is a problem. I think they pretty much dislike each other quite strongly at this point.
That must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be playing at Death Fest, and I'm kind of excited to see them kind of not, because it's not really Venom. But like you said, it's Kronos fronted, and I've never seen Kronos in person, and so just because he is like, he's one of the guys, just to physically be there in his presence and see him sing, that'll be cool for me.
That'll be a thing. Yeah. I almost waited at the show the other night to try to get pictures with the guys for the website, but I'm going to try real fucking hard to get a picture with Cronus, dude.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Love to stand next to that man.
Well, as Buke and I found, a lot of these guys wander around after the show. The fact that I got to take pictures with Triptychon, minus Tom, but still. Damn, And,
Exactly.
we saw Nick Barker walking around, and so
Fingers
you never
crossed.
know.
Of course, this would never happen if I'm not there.
No, of course not. I'd be like, oh, look, it's Nick Barker. It'd be really cool if I had a nutsack.
Duke, what's your number 2?
Number 2, George said it already, and it would be the one and only Sepultura.
Wow, nice.
Nice. 2 votes.
Did not see that one coming. All right, my number 2 is Candlemass with Messiah Marcolin.
Oh, that's a good one, George. Shit.
Yeah, I've never seen them at all.
Me either.
Certainly not with Messiah, but I would love to see that.
No, and they're basically in their Stu, whatever. Who's the guy for Iced Earth now?
Stu.
They're basically in their Stu era now because they're not even with Robert Lowe anymore. Now they got some whole other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that brings us to my number 1. I think anybody who listens to this show at all would probably guess that I was going to say what I'm about to say. But they're all still alive, and their singer is still singing great. I'd love to see Merciful Fate do a tour.
Yeah, man. And I think
And
you'll
this-
get that wish.
I think I might. I think I might. And this is hot on the tail of a fairly recent rumor, too. So, or at least it was a slight rumor, but Neutrino turned us onto it. But yeah, I'm hoping that'll come together. They should really come out, just do the first couple of records. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd go to that.
And I've never seen them. Never seen them.
Nope.
Not even when they did do a reunion. I didn't see it. So,
Buke, number 1.
yeah.
I
me
don't
too.
care because it's my podcast. I'm giving you guys 2 number 1s.
Let it rip.
Do it up.
Because he's such an asshole and he's doing his own thing. I'd like to see Luca come back to Rhapsody, knock off the Rhapsody of Fire and Luca Turilli's Rhapsody.
Yeah.
They put out some of the greatest albums there for a while. Legendary Tales, Symphony of Enchanted Lands, Dawn of Victory.
I really haven't listened to anything since the split.
Yeah. But number 1, Disillusion.
I just saw that they're doing a reissue. I saw it in a magazine. They're doing a reissue of the Back to Times of Splendor.
Oh, I saw
Really?
that too, actually. Yeah. What was that in Decibel or something? Or no, I mean Terrorizer, maybe?
Yeah, it was either Terrorizer or Metal Hammer, because
It's
I read both of those
German-
last night.
It's a German melodic death progressive band. George and I asked Slagle about them when we talked to him. They all just kind of ran its course.
Yeah, I was hoping. I meant to look this up, and I haven't yet. I was hoping that this reissue might actually be on vinyl as well.
Back to Times of Splendor is, one of my favorite albums.
That's a great album.
I forgot
on.
to add that to last week's episode, but those are our number 1s.
My number 1 won't surprise Buke. I'd like to see Emperor.
They were on my
No
the last
surprise.
last time we did this list. They were on my list, and I gave them serious consideration. I think Venom knocked them out just because I had so much fun at the Venom show. But I wonder if does that strike you as possible?
Yes. I mean, they still do reunite for the odd Vakken show or whatever. will they get together and do a tour? That I don't know. They might get nostalgic at some point and just like do it for some money.
Yeah.
I mean, Isan is doing, super with what he's doing. I don't know what Samoth is up to.
Did you ever listen to that new Isan record? It's good. Or no, there was just the single on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just the one song. But
it was good.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Looking forward to that. I always tell the story right after I moved to Maryland, or within a year or two of moving to Maryland. I saw that Emperor was coming to Jack's, and I didn't know my way around here at all. I didn't get out much, and Jack's is not exactly close. And so I was like, I want to go see Emperor. Should I go? Nah, I'll see him next time. There was no next time. So it really burns my ass that I didn't get to see them. And so that's why they're my number one.
Right on.
What are we listening to?
Mine is easy, and you've mentioned them a couple times. I'm listening to basically your shoveling playlist right now. Both. It's funny too because I need to hit the box tonight. The box being our promo box. I looked at it this morning. And there's a few things in there. Oh, and there's one other thing too. So there's a few things I need to pull down, and I'm going to do that probably as soon as we get off. But I love the Abath record. I've been listening to that. I love the Borknagger, and I've been listening to that. And I did pull out of the box about a couple days ago the Voivod EP because I was curious to hear that. It's good. It's everything it's what you would expect to hear, and I like the kind of post 2000 Voivod a lot. So
it was.
Go ahead.
It was really good. I've been a Voivod fan for many years, since like 1986. And I've always been loyal and like bought the albums, and even if I didn't really like them as much as some of the other stuff. But like Target Earth, the last album was great, and right away this EP just grabbed me. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait for they're supposed to have a full album out later in the year, so
okay.
I can't wait for that. And I was listening to it, and the last song on the EP, I was in my car, and I was listening to the songs, and I'm like, this is good, all right. And then track 5 starts playing, the last song on the EP, and I'm listening to it, and I was like, wait a minute, this sounds familiar. And how fucking timely is it?
Yeah, I know.
That they included a cover of Hawkwind's Silver Machine, which was the first song that Lemmy sang on.
Yeah, very fucking cool.
I was like, whoa, I know this song.
Mm-hmm. And I know Hawkwind too. And I was surprised when it came up too because I wasn't looking at the titles.
Yeah.
Which incidentally, tangentially speaking, you guys are going to have a chance to see Tau Cross.
Yep, at some place I've never heard of.
Yeah, coming out by you though, so not coming this way.
Have you ever been there, Buke?
I drive past it for work all the time.
It's a little shithole bar, or what is it?
Yeah, it's nothing more than you'd expect,
Yeah, it's some place called like Pincher or something like that.
The Pinch.
The Pinch? Yeah, I never heard of it.
Sounds like a gay bar.
Yeah, who knows?
Buke, what are you listening to?
Since I love my instrumental stuff and I love my sludgy riffs, this is a sludge instrumental album that was actually gifted to me by the Metal Bandcamp Gift Club. This is a band, Space Beast.
I think I've seen them on there.
From Portland, Oregon.
I'll look it up.
Is it like Stoner Doom kind of stuff?
Just instrumental sludge.
Maybe like Pelican a little bit, or
kind of like I think a Monolord or Conan.
Okay.
With no vocals.
You need to pick up that Serpent Throne record, dude. I know you'd like that. Yeah. And they're going to be at Death Fest.
Sweet.
George?
Anything? Really? That was it? Just one thing?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've been working my ass off. I haven't had time to listen to anything else.
That's okay, because I've got enough for everybody.
Woot.
Oh, God. Hold on. Let me load up Spotify.
Yeah, I had a dry spell last time, but I've got about 12 or 13 of them for you this time, so...
Let it roll.
Mark, get that playlist rolling.
Yep, it's coming right now. I know our friend will do this for us, but
I'm sorry. There's going to be a couple things that I can't pronounce, but I'm going to give it my best shot. This first one, for instance, Anopheli, it's Anopheli. No idea how that's pronounced.
Yeah.
The album is called The Ache of Want, and I found this on Bandcamp. I'm not sure how to describe it. Their description is curious and I believe incorrect, even though it's their own band. You'd think they would describe it properly, but they called it cello-driven emo crust. Now, I got the cello-driven part. That is true, and that is part of what made me listen deeper to this, is they've got like a cello player or two. Emo, I don't get that at all. I have no idea where they're pulling that from. Crust, yeah, maybe. I would call this death metal with cello. And it's pretty badass, so check it out.
Maybe the emo part was just sense of humor on their part.
Could be. Maybe they're not American. Maybe they think of it as different than we do.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'm not sure. I don't recall where they're from. Next up is the second album, and it's self-titled, from the band Bloodiest. This is a sludgy post-metal band, and I saw this, and I didn't think I was going to like it, but it's actually pretty cool. It's kind of sludgy, and it's kind of post-metal. It's, it's got like some clean vocals and stuff, and
I can actually say I've heard this.
yeah. And what did you think?
It was cool. I liked it. I mean, it was a new release on iTunes. So, and I do two things. I like to go through Bandcamp every couple of weeks, and when the new releases come on iTunes, I go check them out. I will say this, of the iTunes stuff that was in the metal genre, literally on that page that came out, it was probably one of the like 4 things that I thought that I was interested in when I heard it. I liked it. And it sounds a little bit more oldie schooly to me, which I kind of like.
I would even call it maybe slightly experimental.
Yeah, how about that?
And the more I listen to it, the more I like it. So I'm definitely going to be investigating this further.
I'll probably get it. I don't have it right now. I just listened to samples so far. But I liked what I heard.
Cool. Next one is a band called Crown, and I mentioned them last year. Their album Natron, or however that's pronounced, came out last year, and I really liked it a lot. It was kind of sludgy with like little elements of electronic thrown in, like some like super heavy like bass and like drum stuff. But just slightly industrialized sludge. And this is actually a previous album called Psychergy. I just happened to notice on Bandcamp that they had a previous album, and I was like, snag. So I picked that up.
Cool.
Next one is a band maybe called Dory, or perhaps Dore. It's Dorre. And the album is called One Collapsed at the Altar. It's atmospheric instrumental doom.
Cool.
I put this on my Bandcamp wish list to give it a little bit more of a look-see. It's like one 30-minute song. And our listener, Matthew Noggle, was kind enough to purchase that for me, so thanks, dude.
Yeah, good on you, man.
Next up is a band called 8 Bells and The Captain's Daughter. This is an experimental, kind of sludgy band. I think they're a 3-piece. It was 2 women and a dude, and I think the dude was the drummer. And this album came out a couple years ago. And it's very, I don't want to say very different, but it's kind of different. It's not, it's got a bit more of an intimate sound, I think. But what made me pull the trigger on this one is their new drummer, and it's Ray from Throssenblatt and Immortal Bird.
Oh, right.
So she's going to be on the new album, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. It's called Landless, and I'm going to be all over that shit. So,
well, that's a good badge of honor or kind of endorsement right there.
Yep.
Because we were all fans of that record. I know she's in Throssenblatt too, but we were all fans of the Immortal Bird record.
Yep.
Cool.
Next one is one that I just bought last night on Bandcamp. And I had I must have read about them in a magazine a couple of months ago, and forgot about them because the album wasn't out yet. It actually came out middle of December. And Buke needs to get this album. Why? First of all, they're from Sweden. Second of all, their drummer, perhaps you've heard of him, guy by the name of Martin Lopez.
Okay. Now you're talking my language. Come on.
For those that aren't aware, he used to be an Opeth. And the band is called Fifth to Infinity. And their first album is called Omnipotent Transdimensional Soulfire. And let me tell you, I haven't even gotten through the whole album yet because I just bought it last night, but it is fucking killer. If there's like 1 or 2 albums from this list that you buy, this should be one of them.
What kind of thing is it, George?
What kind of music?
Yeah.
Well, what made me listen to it was its comparison
I just bought it now.
its comparison to Triptychon. That's our second on-air purchase. But it's sort of like a Triptychon in the vocals a little bit. It's It's a little faster, a little more death metal than Triptychon.
I'm sold.
But yeah, I'm like, oh man, I wish this had come out this year because it's not eligible now, but it is definitely cool.
You're saying all the right words.
So, Fifth to Infinity, get on it. You should check out this next band as well. These guys are called Hands of Despair, and I picked up their latest album called Hereafter. It's sort of a progressive death black band. They're actually getting ready to release a new album called Bereft in the next couple of weeks. But I came across this previous album on Bandcamp, and I was like, wow. It actually came out in 2011, and somehow I missed this. And it is just, it's death metal with a really sort of in the groove heavy sound. So the clean vocals are actually from the singer from Daylight Dies.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's only on a couple tracks. And apparently their regular singer has left, and they've got a new singer on the new album. So I haven't heard the new one yet, but the old album is pretty fucking cool. So between Hands of Despair and Fifth to Infinity, get those albums.
Cool. It is important. Bookmark the big ones.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
I still have a few more for you, though.
Oh, well, let roll. Let fly.
Another one that I don't know how to say. It's all capitals. It's ISON. Ison?
Sure.
And the album's called Cosmic Drone. I came across this on Bandcamp. It's kind of a drone shoegaze kind of thing. It's not metal at all, really. But it's this really cool, spacey... It's got like a space theme to it. Cosmic Drone. It's a spacey drone music with female vocals. And the female vocals are the new female singer from Draconian.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, right on.
Number 2 on my list.
Yeah. So, I thought it was kind of relaxing, and so I picked it up. So it's cool. Next up, an album we mentioned last week, I think it was, is the new Lycus album, Chasms. It's Funeral Doom. It's cool.
Are they? Do you know where they're from, George?
I'm
That's okay.
thinking like California.
Well, I think John. Well, we'll talk about John. But I saw that in the record store, standing next to John. Hi, I'm John. We'll get to that. And he said he thought they were from here.
They are. They're from Oakland.
Okay. And he likes it, by the way. He was saying how he enjoyed that record.
Yeah, I've only been able to listen to it once so far, but it's definitely cool. Next up is another one I just happened across in the Bandcamp feed of things that other people had bought. Is a band called Old Thunder, and their album Slings and Arrows. It's a kind of atmospheric doom sludge. Kind of goes across different paths, and it was kind of cool. It's like one guy, and he's from Kentucky. So
A lot of new sludgy releases here.
Yeah.
You guys are both knee deep in sludge over there.
I've been doing the sludge thing for a while, probably like a year or two, but yeah. And then the next band is a stoner doom band from Spain. They're called Santo Rostro, R-O-S-T-R-O. And I bought both their self-titled album and their second album. It is what it is. It's stoner doom. It's not like psychedelic. It's a little sludgier, kind of.
Cool.
But it's cool. And when I bought those, shortly afterward, I got an email from Danny from Discos Macaras, which is apparently the distributor on Bandcamp, thanking me for those purchases and just like, hey, you've got a podcast and that's cool. So here, have this album as well.
That's classy, dude.
And I got a download code for the band Tort and their album 2. And this was a real sludge death metal band. I haven't gotten too far into it yet, but I liked what I heard, so I'm going to keep listening. And finally, the last band is one that was actually recommended to us on the last episode by the guys in Roundtable. This is the band Wilderness, spelled Wildeornes. And I picked up both their self-titled album and their second album, Erosion of Self. They're kind of a heavy jam sludge with clean vocals. I haven't heard anything quite like this. And after I bought both of those albums, I also received an email from the band. And they thanked me and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you guys were recommended by Roundtable. And, we got chatting. And we might have them on in the future as well. So I think you should check out the Erosion of Self album. It's got some really cool instrumental work, very heavy, sludgy, and the vocals, they remind me of someone clean kind of, I don't know. It's like almost like a southern rock vibe or something, but it's definitely cool. Check it out. And, I think they're pay what you want, so check them out.
Can't be pay what you want.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to our classic album.
All right, I tend to be theming these days, and I'm sticking with my theming theme based on the show I saw this week. And really, you can't beat this record, man. Black Metal used to be my favorite one, but I don't think so. Welcome to Hell, Venom. That's probably my favorite Venom record.
Nice.
So throw that out as my classic, an obvious one, but there it is.
There you go. Buke.
Gorefest Soul Survivor.
I love that album.
Nice, dude.
When I saw that, I heard the Entombed AD, so I saw it on our script. I thought, man, what other rock and death bands do, or death and roll bands do I know?
Yep.
Gorefest came right to mind, and their Soul Survivor album I love.
Yeah, that was my first album by them. Those guys are cool. My
I
class.
don't know how many people know them. I don't hear them mentioned.
Yeah.
Are they still active?
Oh,
Which is probably why.
let's see.
No, they split up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last album came out in 2007.
Okay. My classic is a little bit quirky. I just happened to come across this album recently, and I was like, oh yeah, I haven't heard this in a long time. This is the band Scatterbrain and their 1990 album, Here Comes Trouble.
I remember it.
Yeah? Do you remember
Yeah,
the band
definitely.
before Scatterbrain? Ludacris?
No, honestly, no.
Well, they were like one of those hardcore crossover bands, so they played a lot of fast, short, politically infused songs. And when they broke up, at least two of the guys formed a new band that was a little more metal, thrashy. But their
Are they from
songs
what?
are they where?
From Washington? Is that what you were saying?
DC?
Yeah. Is
I
that
think they're from California.
California? Okay.
Nope, New York. Duh, I should have known that. And they had a couple of songs that I don't know if you'd say they were popular, but they had videos for them on Headbangers Ball. There's a song called Down with the Ship, Slight Return, which was kind of catchy. And they also had a hilarious song called Don't Call Me Dude. Do you remember that one?
I do.
Dude, don't call me dude.
I really do.
I love that song. They also did a cover of Cheech and Chong's Earache My Eye.
Dun. How does that song go again?
Uh,
Dun, 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 dun.
And they had other songs like Goodbye Freedom, Hello Mom, and Drunken Milkman. So, you should check it out if you can find it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun 80s stuff, for people to
Yeah.
get into.
All right, how about some vinyl purchases?
All right, well, I have to mention here that the first two on my list I purchased in the presence of one John, our John. Hi, I'm John. John is actually from this area, and he was visiting California this week. And honestly, I think he came down to Berkeley just to see me, which I really appreciate. He and his girlfriend / common law wife, however you want to put it, stayed in Berkeley for one night. We had the best time. We met. We went to 2 different tap rooms in Oakland, had a couple beers together. We had a restaurant that I really like. We had 2 record stores. It was a quick night. Long night, but quick. And it was just a real pleasure. It seemed funny to meet the lowest person in the batting order when we do lists before I got to meet George or Buke. But John's a really super nice guy, 6 feet taller than I thought he was, judging by pictures. I've only ever seen him sitting down. And it was great. So, John, I'm sure you're probably listening to this app. I wish I had mentioned this information ahead of time, but it was awesome to meet you, bro. And a lot of fun. Instant friendship, too. I mean, obviously, we've spoken before. So, that stated, we get on my list here. John's presence.
Before you get on with that, I wanted to mention that I used John's height to actually figure out how tall you are, because of course we have not been in the same room before.
Correct.
And I know how tall John is, and so I saw a picture of you standing next to John, and I'm like, oh, okay, John is like my J meter. I'm like, okay, so you're pretty much almost as tall as John. So
he's got a couple inches on me. I think the photo reference was a little weird.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm like basically right at 6 feet.
Oh, really? Well, then you're only.
I'm shorter than you.
No, I'm like 5'11" and 3/4.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then actually, Buke, you're 6'1", is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, and to be honest with you, George, I'm like 5'11" and 3/4. So we're probably pretty much exactly the same size.
That'll be weird because I picture you as being slightly taller than me.
Yeah.
And yeah, that had to be some crazy. Okay, screw you, John. You're not my J meter.
No, you're not. He's not. John's a big guy. He's tall.
He's tall, man. So
I almost didn't recognize him because when I turned the corner in the record store, I was like, there he was, and I was like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, he's tall.
yeah, he is.
Anyway, so it was a pleasure to have John in my presence, and likewise my presence with him. And John found on the shelf for us in the record store I frequent and didn't have it last time I was there, Immortal Bird. So I got that on vinyl. I also picked up the Bell Witch Longing record, which I didn't have on vinyl. Mm-hmm. Received my Abath in the mail. And finally, I also just got a nice, cheap, very good quality copy of Man of War's Into Glory Ride.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I ordered off Discogs. It was like $8.
That was one of my, I call it the original vinyls, like from my vinyl collection of the 80s.
Right, it survived.
Yeah, before vinyl, like, had a comeback and I started getting into it again. My copy of Into Glory Ride, which was like the only thing you could find back then, because finding early Manowar stuff in the 80s was fucking impossible.
It's still not that easy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I've got Hail to England on my wish list, and it's never quite as cheap as I expect it to be, and it's mostly in England. Nobody seems to have it over here. Yeah.
And side note, my getting back into vinyl was actually because of Manowar. I was on this like obsessed must have everything Manowar.
Sure.
And this is like early eBay. I started going on eBay and just buying all the vinyl Manowar just because I wanted it in that format as well. Even though I don't even think I had a record player at the time.
Yeah, still worth doing.
And yeah, and so I like bought like some live stuff, like some bootleg stuff and stuff like that. And so that sort of just got me back into vinyl again because it inspired me to then get a record player so that I could play it. And once I had the record player, off to the races.
Because people kind of look at them sideways a little bit, and they shouldn't, I mean, we all know they have a level of cheese. I have to say, they are some of the vintage records, the 80s. None of them are completely grotesquely priced, which is nice. Like, you can get those for a reasonable price because people don't put a premium on them for some reason. So,
yep.
I also I don't remember if I mentioned this one last time. I was going to throw it out there if I didn't, which was I got Enslaved's Vertebrae. I found a used copy of that at the record store a while back with white vinyl, so I picked that up.
Nice. Buke can attest to this. There's a copy of that at the Records Exchange here that's just been sitting there getting more mangled every time I see it.
Yes.
That I would have bought it if it was in better condition, and every time I go in there, it's still there, and it's just like dog-eared, and they want like $20 or more for it, and I'm like, if it was new, but it's kind of fucked up looking, so.
Not for a crappy copy now.
Yeah.
Which this one was used, by the way, I love when there's some guy out there who I'm following around, I'm almost sure of it, because every time I go to this record store, they have like either a Behemoth record or something, and they're always like the double album versions, either clear or white or something. There's some guy slowly selling off his collection, and I'm slowly buying it from him. So
should get a hold of him and be like, look, let's just get this over with.
Let's just do it, dude. You pick anything up, Buke?
Yes. I got recently Catatonia, their Sanctitude. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a acoustic reimagined set of some of their songs. Intro Not, the direction of Last Things.
Oh, right on.
Nile, Annihilation of the Wicked. And since I have a habit and I trust my best friends, Bell Witch for Four Phantoms on vinyl.
Nice.
Oh, bless your heart. And that's cool that you picked up the Nile, too. Were those in the store?
Yeah, they're at Soundgarden.
Right on.
I only have 2, but I have a bunch of stuff on the way, so next time I'll have more. Of course, I just received my pre-order of the Abath album, and I opened that sucker up, and I'm digging around for a download code, but no such luck. I guess
no such luck.
Seasons of Mist, I guess, doesn't do that. They should.
There was a bunch of little promo things in there, and last night I was digging through it, and there was like one little one that I missed, and I was like, maybe there is but I wasn't. Yeah.
Did you get the giant poster?
I did. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I love it. It'll hold me over till the snow globe gets here.
Yeah. And the second album that I picked up, Buke, Royal Thunder, Crooked Doors.
Hey!
Yes! Man, my friend!
Yeah, I'm kind of digging it.
That's awesome, dude. It is such a catchy album.
It is. It really kind of is, you know.
Makes my day.
I thought it might. Let's move on to deep tracks.
All right, mine is from Electric Wizard, who had kind of come up in conversation lately. They have a record out called We Live. That's really not one of their best records, but it's got some good songs on it. And it has what I honestly think is their single best song on it, and it's called Saturn's Children. I can't it's like one of the great Doom songs of all time, as far as I'm
Check it
concerned.
out. I don't know.
Well, we'll get it up on our Spotify playlist. It is such a good song, dude. It's just so good. That's it.
Right on. Buke?
I don't have a deep track. I'm not going to lie.
All right, then.
Sorry. I don't.
That's as deep as it gets. That's how obscure you are, dude.
Do you have a shallow track?
It's just been a crazy week. I don't have anything right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's usually the one I forget to do, and I'm like, oh!
You're stuck deep in snow.
Yes.
No deep tracks because of deep snow.
My
Cancel.
deep tracks are my footprints in this fucking snow.
Well,
There you go.
my deep track is in fact related to that. I picked it because of the fucking weather. This is Iced Earth and Storm Rider.
Nice, dude.
Fight on! Grab on! Storm Rider! Storm Rider! Because that's what we are. We're riding it out.
I'm pretty sure that one of their records that I really like, and we've never talked about it, is the Alive in Athens thing. I mean, I like them anyway.
That was my date. That was my first album I got from them.
It was mine too, Buke, as a matter of fact, and it's such a good way to get into them because it's got like everything. There's like the 4-disc version that you can get. There's like a really good version of Storm Rider on that, if I remember right.
You know, the original version, John Schaefer actually sings it. I don't know if he does on the live one.
He doesn't. But, no, actually, you know what, George? I'll have to go back and listen to it again. He might. He may well indeed.
Yeah, Night of the Storm Rider with yet another singer was actually their second singer. There were 2 singers before Barlow. Just crazy.
That is crazy.
But I liked the singer before Barlow. He was pretty good. But for whatever reason, John Schaefer sang on this song. And when Night of the Storm Rider came out, it was underground, man. It was like you could not find it. It was like whispered about in our group, Iced Earth, Iced Earth. And I finally found a CD copy of it at Rock of Ages, this metal-themed record store in Garden City, Michigan, which may or may not still be there. And then there was like nothing for a long time, and I was like, oh man, they probably broke up or something. And then finally, eventually, they came out with Burnt Offerings. But then I was like, damn it, they got a new singer. Little did I know it was Matt Barlow.
Yeah, they are piling up the singers out there for sure, but that's their high point. That's their man.
Yep. All right.
That's it.
All right, I guess that's just about it for this week.
I have something in closing. I am going to be a guest appearance on Dan from the Nine Circles. He started up a new podcast.
Nice.
Talking about musical experiences and sharing some stories. So I was invited to come on his brand new podcast. I will be on it tomorrow.
What are you going to be sharing? What experience?
I am going to be talking about like our first concert experience, worst concert experience. So I got a bunch of stories to share.
Right on.
Cool. You'll obviously make a point of telling us when that's up, dude.
And I believe
Of course.
that new podcast, is called First and Last and Always.
That's it.
Like Sisters of Mercy.
Well, I mean, we'll plug it on the page. But I'm looking forward to hearing that, man.
Yep. All right. Well, before we go, make sure to check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. I am Disciple OV Metal.
I'm Opeth fan.
Catatonic J.
You can also find us on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Stitcher. And of course, we are metalheads.com.
You can't throw a rock on the web without hitting us.
Exactly. So until next time, stay out of the fucking snow.